Okay, we are now a week away from Tisha B'Av. A week away from Tisha B'Av? No, 2 weeks away from Tisha B'Av. 2 weeks away from Tisha B'Av, yeah. We're a week away from Shivas B'Tammuz, 2 weeks away from Tisha B'Av, so I figured I'd talk a little bit about the 3 weeks. So during the 3 weeks we are, I can't use the word celebrating, but we are commemorating, that's a good word. We're commemorating the Churban Beis HaMikdash. There were 2 Churban Beis Batei HaMikdash. We had Bayis Rishon. So in order for us, everybody says that in order to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, so you have to take care, fix up, be masakein, what we did wrong. So what did we do wrong? So it says Bayis Rishon. So there's a Gemara in Yuma. There's a Gemara in Yuma Daf Tes Amud Beis. Mikdash Rishon. Everybody knows this. Mikdash Rishon mipnei machorav. Why was it destroyed? Gimel Devarim. The big biggies, 3 biggies, the 3 cardinal sins: Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, and Shvichas Damim. Idol worship, Gilui Arayos is illicit relationships, and Shvichas Damim, murder. That was what was going on. The Klal Yisrael sunk to such a low madrega, but that's what the Chazal tell us. So that was the Bayis Rishon. And then it talks about, it brings rayas from the Psukim. Aval Mikdash Sheni. What happened in Mikdash Sheni? Shah Oiskim B'Torah, they were learning. Oiskim B'Torah, they were learning. It wasn't the same as the Mikdash Rishon. Mikdash Sheni, they were learning. Oiskim B'Torah, Uba Mitzvahs, they did mitzvahs. And Gemilas Chasodim. Mipnei Machorav. It sounds like they were very wonderful people. So why was there a Churban Beis HaMikdash Bayis Sheni? Mipnei she'hoysa sinas chinam. There was terrible sinas chinam, and you have to read the history of the times, and the infighting, and the backbiting, and the terrible things that were going on in the politics. It was terrible as far as sinas chinam. Huh? Republicans.
Democrats.
It was also the extreme right, also extreme this and extreme that, right? It was very bad. Sinas chinam. So everybody wants to learn. So what do we have? So everybody says, what do we have to do in order to misakin? So of course, they came up with this new term, avas chinam. I don't know where they got this avas chinam from. Ava needs a reason for me to love you. There's no such thing as avas chinam, and there are certain people in our community. I won't go into this, but there are certain people, it's not a mitzvah necessarily to love them, so I'm skeptical about this concept of Avas Chinam. Ava has to have a reason for the Ava. But they take sin as Chinam, so therefore we have to have Avas Chinam.
Wait, Rabbi saying Avas, free love, is not a Jewish idea?
Not free love. That's not what Avas Chinam means, free love. I have to love every Jew no matter what. And that's not so simple. Because if a person is a real Rasha Marusha, there's no mitzvah to love him. There are many, unfortunately.
There's a mitzvah not to love him.
There's a mitzvah, right? If he's an apikairos.
Why doesn't Hashem take away his chiyus? Isn't the chiyus that Hashem is giving him a raya that Hashem?
No, there's free will. You're getting into a very, very deep philosophical concept, and a Kodesh Baruch Hu gives everybody free will, a tzaddik and a rasha. And therefore, Kodesh Baruch does not take away the person's chiyus, and there's a reason we have. That is another shmooze. I'd have to spend an hour with you. That even in Russia, there's a reason for him.
Right. And in that.
Okay, but Kodesh Baruch does not take away the chiyus. He will not zap him just because he's doing something wrong. We do not get zapped.
And that reason is his son tov. And the reason that he's sustaining him is his son tov.
Not necessarily, but as far as we don't know. That, not necessarily. There have been plenty of apikorsim in our history. It was a mitzvah to hate them. They are enemies of Hashem. If he's a real apikoros, he's an enemy of Hashem, and it's a mitzvah to hate him. You're right. HaKadosh Baruch Hu ultimately, even when the Mitzrim were drowning in the sea, Maisi Yodai are drowning in the sea, and you, Malachim, are singing. But as far as we are concerned, down here, with our perspective, we have to live in Olam Haza. If the guy's an apikoros, it's a mitzvah to hate him. So this concept of Avos Chinam, not everybody. If he's Nebuch, he's a Tinek Shenishba, and he's doing things bad because he just doesn't know any better, so it's a mitzvah to love him, try to be Makarvim. We try to Makarv everybody. But if you see he's so far gone and he's an enemy, there are people who are enemy. We've had in our history enemy. Marx was a Jew. Trotsky was a Jew. Trotsky went to Cheder. He became one of the biggest enemies of the Jewish people. It's mitzvah to hate him. And he was not going to be, you couldn't work on him. The Chazon Ish says it depends upon who the person is. And unfortunately, we have plenty of people who, no matter, they're so far gone, they're not going to come back, and they are causing terrible damage to Klal Yisrael. It's mitzvah to hate them. Okay, I don't want to get into Avos Chinam. This is a new built. It's a word. All of a sudden, it appeared in the jargon, and now it's spreading, and I'm hearing it all over the place. Avos Chinam. There's no such concept. Avos got to have a reason.
Where did it come from? Other Avos think that.
The Mizrahi came in.
No, there's not written.
No. No. Not that I know of. I never came across it. Sinas Chinam we came across. Anyway, so we have the Gemara says that Bayis Sheni was because of Sinas Chinam. What can I do? What can I do? There's another Gemara in Bava Metzia and in Nedorim that says not like that. It says not like that. It says, My Diksiv, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, in the Gemara Bava Metzia, Daf Pei Hey, My Diksiv Mio Ish HaChacham V'Yovin Azois, who's the person who's wise and can understand this? V'Yasher Dibur Pi Hashem, Elov V'Yagido, or a person that it was told by Hashem, and he's going to tell us why. Alma of the Haaretz. Why was, now this is talking about Bayis Rishon. Alma, but it will apply by Bayis Sheni also. Alma of the Haaretz. Why was there a Churban? So, Davizeh, Amru Chachamim. The Chachamim asked, Alma of the Haaretz, why was there a Churban? V'lo Pirshu, they couldn't figure it out. He's darshing the pasuk. Miu Ish HaChacham. He says the Chachamim. They asked the question. They couldn't answer. Amar Nevi'im. It says, Asher Diber Dvar Pi Hashem Elov Yagidu. The Nevi'im, they were asked the question, and they couldn't answer. Below Pirshu. Asher Pirshu Kodesh Baruch Hu Biatzmo. Kodesh Baruch Hu had to come to Yirmiyah, and he said, Vayomer Hashem al ozvim esoirosi, asher nosati lifneihem. They forsook the Torah. They forsook the Torah. Forsook. It's English.
Forsook is English.
It's English.
It's the past of forsake.
Forsake.
No, it's the past tense of forsake.
They left.
Israeli children. Bark off Israeli children.
It's not Parkov, it's Parkuf.
Don't call my family monkeys.
No.
Anyway, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Shelo, right? Ozvu es Torasi, Asher Nasat Lifneihem. So they asked the question. The Bach asked the question. Many people asked the question. Wait, the Chachamim were asked, they couldn't figure it out, and the Nevi'im were asked, and they couldn't figure it out. And it says, Al Ozvu es Torasi. They weren't learning. If they weren't learning, go take a look. They're not learning.
Why couldn't they know about it? Yeah.
Why couldn't they know about it? Now this is talking about Bayis Rishon. Now it says in Bayis Sheni, the Gemara we had before, says they were learning Torah.
Yeah, but it's talking about Ma'av Haaretz.
Ma'av Haaretz, right?
Haaretz, and the one before is talking about the...
Why was there a Churban?
Same,
well, same thing.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's Churban. We look. So Amarav Yehuda Amarav, you know why they couldn't figure it out? They were learning. They were learning. Shelo bircha b'Torah tchila. But they didn't make a bircha satayra. They didn't make bircha satayra? I mean, which is very, very strange. I mean, that bichlal is a very, very strange statement, that they didn't make a bircha satayra, because if they were sitting and learning, they should have known that bircha satayra, we've only got two brachas, which are min ha-Torah, mid dioraisa. Birchas hamazon, v'yochalta v'savota v'rachto. So birchas hamazon and birchas ha-Torah. We learned.
What's the source for that?
I think this is Gemara and Brachas. Yes, Mefurish Gemara and Brachas. Birchas ha-Torah is mid dioraisa. It's min ha-Torah. That's for sure. I forget the exact raya, but it's for sure. So it's Midir Raisa. So they didn't make a bracha on Torah. So the Rashi, Haya oiskin b'Torah. They were oiskin b'Torah. V'lo haya mevorchen lefanea. Hashem. It says Rashi brings down the you're looking Rashi over here in Daf Pei Hey. He brings down the pasuk. Berachas Hashem Rasan Lo Torah Emes Kitzer. Shehi Lefaneho Divrei Torah V'Kiven Lo Mavorchi. So Rashi explains the fact that they didn't make a bracha on the Torah. Galia Daitayu She'eno Matana Chashuv Lehem. It wasn't important to them. It wasn't important to them. It wasn't important to them. That's amazing. In other words, Torah has to be important. Torah has to be important. And since Torah wasn't important, they didn't make a bracha. Now the Bach, we're going to get to the Bach in a second. The Bach asked the obvious question. The Bach is going to ask the obvious question. Just because they didn't make a bracha, therefore they had a churban, a bias? That sounds a little bit extreme. It's incongruous. To say the big three cardinal sins of Avodah Zorah, Gilui Arayos, Sfichus Damim, that I understand. These are the cardinal sins. Yeah? But because they didn't make a bracha, so therefore they lost Eretz Yisrael because we didn't make a birchas ha-Torah. We have to come back to that. We have to do the Bach. But before we do the Bach, I want to do the Medrash Rabbah and the Pesichta of Eicha. Pesichta of Eicha in Medrash Rabbah. Mio Yisha Chacham, they bring down the same pasuk. Mio Yisha Chacham v'Yovin Ezois. Tani Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So now we're getting somebody who knew a little bit about Zohar. He wrote the Zohar. Shimon Bar Yochai. Imra Isa Ayoris Nechlashos. Now he lived after the Churban. He was a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. He lived after the Churban. And you see Nitloshos, you see cities being eradicated, being lost. Mimkomo. Like we see today also. We see cities, people had to leave the north, and in the south they had to leave. I mean, there are cities being nitlosh mimkoimim. The whole cities are emptying out. In Eretz Yisrael, shelo echziku b'schar soifrim b'schar mishanim. They didn't pay for the soifrim and the mishanim. Who are these? So there's two different pshatim. One pshat are the Malamdei, the teachers of Chumash. Maybe it meant the Cheder Rebbes. The teachers of Chumash and the teachers of Mishnayos. The Eitz Yosef says, Loimdim Torah. They didn't support the kollel, the yeshivas, and the kollelim, that Elohim de Torah. They didn't give them lechem and mazon. They want to take away the taksiv. That's what they want to do. And therefore, what's the oynish? The oynish is that the cities are being nitlash mimkaimam. They're being uprooted from their place. Tell this to the government. They're making a very, very big mistake. They're making such a mistake. They're making such a mistake, it's going to be tragic. They want to, every time they go against the B'nai Torah, there's major problems that we have. And it's a Mefurish of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and I think he's very, very competent to understand the deep workings of Eretz Yisrael. Rebbe. Now this Rebbe is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Hasheni, Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, the great-grandson of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. There's Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and then his great-grandson was also Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. That's Rebbe in the Gemara? Rebbe in the Gemara is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. But he was the end of the Tanoim. He was the end of the Tanoim. After him are the beginning of the Amoraim. His Talmud was Rav, and Rav was the beginning of the Amoraim. And Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish there at the beginning of the Amoraim. So Rebbe was the last of the Tanoim. He had a grandson, a great-grandson. He had a great-grandson also called Yehuda, and he was also a Nasi because it was in the family. The Nasi was in the family. And he was the end of the Amoraim in Eretz Yisrael. Then Bavel took over. So the end of the Amoraim in Eretz Yisrael was Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya. Havi Meshach Ravasi Ravami. Ravasi and Ravami were great Talmidei Chachamim. They were Talmidim of Rav Yochanan. They were great Talmidei Chachamim. The Yifka v'Yisaknu Kiryasa de Eretz Yisrael. They should go. They saw that Eretz Yisrael we needed help. It was falling apart. The Roman oppression, and people were leaving, and it was getting decimated, and the Goyim were coming in and taking over the cities. Havan Alan L'Kiryasa, so they went up to the cities, and so what they say, so they were sent, find out what's going on, what kind of things are needed to strengthen the community. So they went to the Kiryat, to the cities, and they say, bring us your Naturi Karta. Now, the word Naturi Karta has taken on bad ramifications, bad meanings. We don't mean the Naturi Karta of today. I'm not going to say on tape, but
yeah, they don't have They do actually. They have an amazing website. They have an amazing website. They've been multiple times.
Anyway, but the Naturi Karta, real Naturi Karta, are the Shoimrei. Shoimrim, the word means literally the Shoimrim of the city. Naturi is Aramaic, it means Shoimer, and Karta means city, so they are Naturi Karta. So bring me the Shoimrim. Who are the guardians of the city? Vavi Maisalu said, what they brought? The head of the police and the head of the army. Whatever they had some sort of armed forces, right? So Ravasi and Ravami says, these are your Naturi Karta, these are your Shoimrim? These are not the Shoimrim. These are Charuvei Karta. These are the people who are ruining the city.
Wait, Rabbi, do they know this Gemara?
Yes.
They caused it. They caused it the 7th of October. It's them.
They're Mishtaken Behevli or Oilam Vinyano. They're only involved in Oilam Hazeh. Hevli or Oilam Uvinyano. They're involved in Oilam Hazeh and in Tevedika ways of protecting the city. That's not going to protect the city. That kind of thing is not going to protect the city. They're going to destroy the city because they're forgetting something. So what? So Manhu Naturi Karta. So the people ask them, who are the Naturi Karta? Who are the real Shoimrim of the city? Now go tell this to the government. Elu Seifrin u'Mishanim Shem Hoigen u'Mishanim. These are the Yeshiva Bachrim and the Younger Light. Seifrim means they're learning. In those days, they had a yeshiva for learning Chumash, and then they had a yeshiva for learning Mishnayos. because the Gemara was still yet, we're waiting for Ravina and Ravashi to finish up the Gemara, and Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish had just at this time, had just finished the Talmud Yushalmi. It's not even finished, it's sort of like, they had to stop in the middle. But the Gemara had not yet been formulated, so they learn Chumash, they learn like you have Sifri and Sifra, like they learn from the Chumash the halachas, and then they learn Mishnayos, was pshat and then later on they had Gemara. It says the Soifrim and the Mishanim, they're the Mishamrim. That's the Torah. B'yom u'v'layla. They guard the Torah, and if you guard the Torah, v'gizu b'yom u'v'layla. Now, if you guard the Torah, Kadosh Baruch Hu, then the Torah will guard Eretz Yisrael. This is what they don't know in our government, unfortunately. Amar Rav Huna is the main character, is the main speaker over here. Rav Huna and Rav Yirmiyah b'shem Rav Omar. Metzino shaviter HaKadosh Baruch Hu al avodas gechav al gili rais al shvichas damim. Kadosh Baruch Hu was mavater. We see from this pasuk al ma ovda aretz, he's now referring to the Gemara in Bav Metzia and in Nedarim. Kadosh Baruch Hu was mavater on avodah zorah, gili rais, and shvichas damim, the big three in the Bayis Rishon. V'lo vitor al moas ha-Torah, but they were moyas Torah. They became, like, they despised Torah. They downgraded Torah. Mo'asah, with an aleph. Mo'asah shel Torah. They didn't give it, that's very harsh words. Disgusted. It's very harsh words.
That's what it means. The people learning were disgusted by Torah, or those who were in charge were?
We'll see in a second. Shenemar al ma'ov do oretz. Avodah zorah val gili rais al shvichus damin doesn't say here. It doesn't say Alma of the Oretz, and it doesn't mention in the pasuk, even though the Gemara mentions that this was the reason for the Churban Bayis Rishon, but that's not in the pasuk. The pasuk says Al Ozvim es Toirasi. They forsook the Torah. Now Rav Huna goes a step further. He will explain how. We know it was because of Shvichas Dam Avodah Zorah Gili Arayos. So what's it got to do with Al Ozvim es Toirasi? Because they weren't sitting and learning, or they were sitting, but it says they were sitting and learning, but they didn't make a bracha techila. It says Rav Huna, again Rav Huna. It says Oisi Azavu ves Toirasi lo Shamaro. So they darshan. Why? If you say Oisi Azavu, that means they forsook the Torah, because that's Kodesh Baruch Hu. There's Toirasi lo Shamaro. So why do you have to add in another statement that as Toirasi lo Shamaro? Halavai Oisi Azvu v'Toirasi Shamaro. Halavai, they should do all the averas in the book. Don't forsake Torah. Why? Mitoich shehoy misaskin ba. If you're sitting and learning Torah in spite of a person's a bal avera, hamaor shaba machziron lemutav. Torah has the ability to bring a person back. Torah has the ability to bring a person back. And then Rav Huna, again Rav Huna is the main speaker in this series of statements. L'moid Torah afal pi shaloi lishma shemitoich shaloi lishma bo lishma. Even if you learn Torah for the wrong reason. Mitoich shaloi lishma bo lishma. So this is a famous Gemara. This is a famous statement, and they say it's not true. It says a person who learns lo lishma, it's better he should not have been never been born. So it says there are different types of lo lishma. There's a lo lishma, a person learns, a person's...
Can we translate lo lishma?
It's hard to translate lo lishma. I'm not learning for the sake of Torah. Lishma is a very high madrega, but lishma means a big Talmud Chacham is learning for the sake of Torah. Kodesh Baruch Hu was commanded me to learn, commanded us to learn. He gave us the Torah, and we're learning it just for the sake of Torah, because it's a wonderful thing. We appreciate the Torah, and the Torah is a gift from a Kodesh Baruch Hu. and there's a lot to be said about that, but it's a gift to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's the lifeline. It's the Chayei Olam Nota B'Sochenu. It's the life of the whole universe. It's the electric current. It's the electric current of the computer of the universe, and it's the program. It's the BIOS and the operating system. That's the Torah. Istakel b'Oraisa. Kodesh Baruch Hu was Istakel b'Oraisa Bora Alma. The Zohar says. Kodesh Baruch Hu was Mistakel. He wrote. Kodesh Baruch Hu wrote the Torah, and that's the blueprint. And he looked in the Torah, and then he created the world. And so the Torah is the blueprint of the world. It's the blueprint of the world. And it's not like a blueprint which is over there, there's a piece of paper over there, and you looked in and now he drew the plans. But Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't work like that. If it's the blueprint, it's in the fabric of the universe, this blueprint. It's the operating system. This is the
Source code.
Everything's the BIOS and the operating system and all the codes and all the programs and all the details. I've said this many times to you. Kodesh Baruch Hu, this is the Chafetz Chaim says we have all these gadgets today, all these technological advances and technological discoveries that in order for us to understand things, understand things that they used to understand on their own, and we can't understand it unless we have something which is, to as an example, hamchasha, right? We have to be hamchasha. You have to a tangible example of what's going on. So the fact that they created a computer is so marvelous. What's a computer? The world is a giant computer. Kodesh Baruch Hu wrote the Torah, and that's the operating system, and that's the Windows, and it's the Word and the Office and everything, all the different programs is the Torah. And it's constantly, this is what is running the world. This is what's running the world. It's the Chayei Olam. Not only that, but it's the electricity. Because if you take away the electricity, the computer doesn't slowly die. It just goes, boop, doesn't without a noise even. It just sort of just stops, right? So it's Chayei Olam. It's the lifeline of the whole universe, of everything of the universe. And that's Torah. And therefore, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us, now if this is the life of the universe, Torah is the life of the universe. So there's the whole Perek Dalet of Nefesh HaChaim. It was too long for me to read over here, so I didn't even bring it. But the Perek Dalet, Nefesh HaChaim by Chaim Volozhin. Chaim Volozhin, the Talmud of the Gra. He wrote Nefesh HaChaim. He gives tremendous insights into how the world works. And in Perek Dalet, he goes into the importance of Torah and how Torah works. And he says, at Har Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made us shutfim. We are now partners in Maisa Bereshis. He made us partners in Maisa Bereshis because he gave us the Torah. What does it mean he gave us the Torah? The Torah is the life energy, the life program of the whole universe, of the whole world, of everything that's happening. And he handed it over to us. When we learn, we're now programmers. Actually, we're programmers. He gave us the codes. He gave us every yid. When he learns Torah, is as if he's sitting down at a keyboard and he's punching in codes. And it's hard for us to understand it. If I'm learning Daf Yomi, I'm learning Bava Basra or Hilchos Shchenim, and Hilchos Shchenim or Bava Kama and Hilchos Nezikin or Shabbos and Hilchos Bishul and all these things. This is the laws of how the universe works. The Torah is the code of the universe. The universe works according to the Torah. If we keep the Torah, if we keep the mitzvahs, so that everything clicks and everything is wonderful, everything works And because everything's in sync and everything is just moving along and humming. It's humming. It's like a machine that's humming and it's acting as if it's supposed to. And we can adjust it according to, that's what he gave us the ability, the chachamim, they can paskin. They can paskin shaylas. And that changes the laws of the universe. It changes the laws of the universe. Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Rosh Hashanah. Erev Rosh Hashanah, he's about to give a din. We're getting closer to we have Av, and then we have El, and then Rosh Hashanah. So Rosh Hashanah is the day he takes out the books and checks everybody's, everybody's records for the whole year. So the day before Rosh Hashanah, Erev Rosh Hashanah, he says to the Pamalia Shamayla, all the Malachim, he tells them, take out the books because tomorrow I'm judging the world. Comes the next day, and he says, put them back. Why? Because the Bezin didn't accept the Eidim. The Bezin didn't accept the Eidim, so Rosh Hashanah is tomorrow. We have control over that, the Bezdin. Because Baruch Hu lost control. He gave over the control of the universe. When is Rosh Hashanah? When we declare the moon. Today or tomorrow. It's up to Bezdin. If the Bezdin decides things. The Bezdin decides. I heard a fantastic story. I just now heard a fantastic story. It was in Europe, and I think tuberculosis is a lung disease. It's a lung disease. So there was a lot of tuberculosis going around, and there was a young man in a certain city, and he came down with tuberculosis, and the doctors gave him a year. He can't last more than a year with this. Had a lung disease. He went to the Rav and he cried. What am I supposed to do? He says, go over to that city and move into that city. Why? Because this disease of the lungs, I paskin, if an animal, if a behemoth has this disease, he's a treifa. So I hold there's a treifa. And therefore, a treifa is not going to last more than 12 months. Go over there, that Rav, I disagree with him, but he's Roy to paskin. He paskins, it's not a treifa. So over there, you have a chance. He moved, and because he moved to the city where the Rav paskin that he is not a treifa, he lived for another many years. So the psak, in other words, in this area, the Rav paskin this way. So tuberculosis was a deadly disease, but in that city where the Rav paskin is doesn't make an animal a treifa, so it's not a deadly disease. Who decided? Torah. Has to be done al pi Torah. You have to be a bar hochi. You have to be a talmid chacham. It's very hard to be on talmid chacham of that madrega. In Europe, they had great talmid chachamim. They had great talmid chachamim. That lishma for the sake of Torah. So when I learn lishma, now what does lishma mean? It means, as far as we're concerned, lishma means if you're learning Mishnah Berurah, I want to know the halacha because this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us to do. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us to do. This is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us to keep Shabbos. So I want to learn how to cook, how not to cook on Shabbos. What are the ways I can warm up food, how I can keep things hot on Shabbos. I have to know what to do, where I can walk, what I can do, whether I can make knots, whether all the halachas of Shabbos. I want to know what to do. All the different things are all dependent upon learning Torah. Now
So who cares if they say Birkat the Torah though? If the guy says, I'm doing it L'Shem Shemayim or whatever, who cares? It doesn't matter if he does. If he said 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 8 seconds, I don't know.
So there are different.
6 seconds.
So there are different types. So the Gemara has the kasha, and it says that a person who learns lo lishma it's better he should never have been born. So what does it mean over here? That if you learn lo lishma, it'll eventually influence you to learn lishma, right? What is lishma? What's lo lishma? There are many madregas. There's a lo lishma. There's a lo lishma, which is to show off. Is to show off. In those days, Jews did not go to university, so there were people who were intellectually inclined. The great geniuses. For example, there were great geniuses in Volozhin. Volozhin all the geniuses went to Volozhin, and they had 4 levels of Talmidim, 4 classes in Volozhin. There was a certain Eloi there. He was in the 5th level. That's how big an Eloi. He learned with the Rosh Yeshiva's son. He was a very big Eloi. Now, the time of Volozhin was the time of the Haskalah. The Haskalah, the Enlightenment, the Jewish Enlightenment. The Jewish Enlightenment was Lo Lishma, which is treif. They didn't learn to keep the Torah. They learned how to get around the Torah. This fellow was learning in Volozhin, and they caught him in his dormitory room on Shabbos, writing Chidushei Torah and smoking a cigar.
And how else are you going to Chidushei Torah without a cigar?
Yeah, you can't. If I don't have a cigar, I mean, they could, you can't. It doesn't go. I mean, of course, they threw him out. So he went off and he became a big professor in the Jewish Theological Cemetery. So in the conservative movement, he became a big professor in this conservative movement, because that was a conservative movement. Yeah. So that's a Lo Lishma. That's a Lo Lishma. There's better should never been the whole Haskalah. The Haskalah, we suffered from the Haskalah. This government is a result of the Haskalah. What we have today is a result of the Haskalah. It was a Lo Lishma that should never have been. Why? Because they're trying to look for ways to get out of Yiddishkeit. Yiddishkeit was a drag for them. Right? So they looked for ways, but because of social pressure, they could not be religious, at least on the outside. But it didn't go inside at all. On the inside was rotten to the core. And they hated the rabbis. They hated the Orthodox. And they made troubles. They worked with the government to close down the mikvahs and to close down the yeshivas and the chadorim. They worked very, very hard. Everybody has to become a Jew in this world, a worldly Jew, a Jew in the outside, a goy in the outside, and a Jew on the inside. Moses Mendelssohn. He was a big Talmid Chacham, but I have to be a goy on the outside, dress like a goy, and think like a goy, and act like a goy. But on the inside, I have a good heart, Jewish heart. All his kids are goyim today. He doesn't have any.
Felix.
Right? These were people they destroyed. And because of their influence, so all the Jews, Europe became corrupt. Europe became corrupt. People think, Rav Miller writes, do I have it? Did I bring it?
Okay, I gotta get the book. We'll find the book, Rabbi. We'll get the book for you.
You don't have the book.
I need to find it. We need to find it.
You don't have the book.
Yeah, we do.
We do. It's something.
We do. We've got that one as well.
We read it.
We've got that one as well.
There's
The one that nobody has, we've got.
the one that nobody has.
Yeah,
Huh?
we've got it.
People imagine that pre-World War Europe was populated with millions of pious religious Jews. This is just synopsis. It's a book review. This is from a book review of Divine Madness by Avigdor Miller about what was going on. So people think that pre-World War II, they see all the pictures. Everybody, they remember Fiddler on the Roof, and everybody's frum, and they remember when movies first came out. So they had all the chazans and Moshe Osher. I don't know if you don't know Moshe Osher, right? Singing Kol Nidre, all the original movies, when the original Jewish movies, they had to have a cantor, and he sang Kol Nidre, and then he decided he wants to run off, and they have the same thing with Al Jolson. Al Jolson, his father was a chazan. His father was a chazan, and he used to sing in the choir, and then he ran off and became a jazz singer. And,
A lot of money.
load of money, and he married 4 goyim.
Only four. We don't.
So people think it was populated with millions of pious religious Jews, and they were slaughtered by the German nation because they had a compulsion to murder Jews. Partially true. It was terrible. The Holocaust, people suffered. We're not diminishing the suffering. But Rav Miller was in Europe in 1936. He learned in Slobodka, and he saw what was going on. An American boy in Europe, and he saw what was going on. He says this was the age of enlightenment. And you had the Marxists, the communists, the socialists, the Zionists. The Zionists in those days were the Herzl Zionists, the leftist Zionists. Afterwards, because of everybody got enamored with Zionism, so then the Mizrahi movement, they said, well, we also have to get on the bandwagon of Zionism, because, so they created the religious Zionists, but they were a very small minority, the religious Zionists. The major Zionists in those days were all leftists, and they were anti-religious. And Ben Gurion, under the British, they had a quota, and he was given the ability to hand out visas to come into Palestine, the British mandate, and he only gave 5% to anybody who was Orthodox. Everybody else was leftists from his gang. That's why the Labour Party was so strong. The Mapam and Mapai were so strong at the beginning of the Medina, because that's all he left in. He let in. He didn't let he says, oh, Nebuch, all the religious Jews, they died in Europe. That's because he left them there. He wouldn't bring them out. He didn't work on the British to let them in. He wanted them, he was hoping that they would go, and we can build a new country on the ashes of Europe, and then we can, oh, terrible! We can mourn all the European Jews, but we have to get away from the Golis mentality. We have to have a new Israeli mentality. They want to create a new Israeli, and that's why this attitude is still in the army. That's what I told to Elon last week, and he agreed with me. This attitude is still in the army. They're trying to get the Charedim to enlist in the army. The army was created to be a melting pot to create a new Israeli. You go into the army with a giant yarmulke and you come out and it shrinks to a Pepsi-Cola yarmulke. Guaranteed. It's made as a melting pot. No, we're going to make it. It's a bunch of baloney, because the people on top, maybe the people on the bottom, they're naive. And so we'll try to be nice, and we have to respect everybody. They don't respect a religious Jew. And they're trying insidiously to secularize all the religious Jews. It's prohibited. All the Gedolim, both Ashkenazi and Sephardim, have stated this new policy that everybody has to, they're going to send draft notices. It's prohibited to answer the draft notice.
I volunteered, I draft.
It's prohibited. He's too old. They can't do anything to him. He's already too far gone. But you take an 18-year-old boy, a 20-year-old boy. He's at the age when he's just forming his ideas, and then you put him in there, and then you can mold him into a new Israeli. That's what they want. And it's treif. And this is what we're fighting today. So in pre-World War Europe, it was terrible. It was worse than it is today. Most of the non-religious Jews today are nebuch. They never had any education. But the pre-World War II Europe, they all went to Cheder. And why'd they come out? Trotsky went to Cheder. Ben Gurion. So when the Brisker Rav, they talked about Ben Gurion. So, the Brisker Shagets. He remembered him. The Brisker Shagets. He was a brisk. These were all the people that were there. And all the people were throwing it off. But they couldn't, because the social pressure, so they dressed religious, but they weren't, everybody was Chal Shabbos. It was, not everybody, but a tremendous amount. A tremendous amount of people were Chal Shabbos. Rabbi says, Akush Baruch Hu said, you're rebelling against me, I have to rebel against you. So therefore, I'm not going to go into Rabbi's Shita, but he says Akadosh Baruch Hu had to do an emergency surgery on Klal Yisrael to stop this infection. And it didn't. It basically stopped, except it continued over here. And Baruch Hashem, this is our fight, the Charedim's fight, that we have to fight this. All the leftists, and you see how they're ruining the government. They're ruining everything. They're ruining.
Rabbi, can I humbly disagree with just one thing? Like everything I agree with 100%, which is that there's no need to fight. You personally, Rabbi, have more grandchildren, great-grandchildren than all of Mapayim combined.
Kita Hay, 51.
That's it.
51%.
That's it. That's the way you win. Demographics.
51% in Kita Hay is the Dati. 51% in Kita Hay.
Yeah,
So what I mean, what do I mean by fight? What do I mean by fight? You're right. Me and my madrega, Kodesh Baruch Hu do the fighting.
That's the beginning.
Hashem ish milchama. Hashem ish milchama. Hashem does the fighting for us. Right. That's I heard from Mendel Weinbach years ago. Zichron Lebracha. Mendel, he was the head of Or Sameach. Before Or Sameach, so he created Pe'ilim. Pe'ilim was the precursor to Yad Lachim. That goes around in the car of everybody. Leiv Lachem. I get mistaken with Leiv Lachem. No, so this is Leiv Lachem, right? So Leiv Lachem. So he was there was Pe'ilim. They used to go around. He went around to the kibbutzim to try to influence them to start, keeping, being Shomer Shabbos, Shomer Kashrus. And he was very discouraged. It didn't go. They go to Shomer HaTzair and try to get them to start keeping Shabbos. They threw him out. He got thrown out of a lot of kibbutzim. So his famous statement: "If you can't beat them, outnumber them." And that's what's happening today. They're petrified because we have, right? They have what, 2 children and a dog. I mean, maybe one child and a dog, right? So there's no population explosion by them. Whereas we 7, 8, 9. I just was at I passed by on Shabbos. A guy was having a Shalom Zachar number 17. Kanana Hora. So this is what was going on. This is what's going on today. This is what's going on today. This is so that's I got sidetracked. These were the people who were shaloi lishma. It will never come lishma. You have a person who's learning shaloi lishma. It will never come lishma. He wants to be a professor of university. His learning will never influence him. What do I mean by shaloi lishma, mitoch shaloi lishma, bol lishma? Most of us, we can't learn necessarily because of lishma. We're not holding by the tzidkes. I was zeicha to know Rav Scheinberg, and I was zeicha to know Rav Zedel Epstein, and Chaim Dov Altusky. So I knew gedolim, people who knew Shas, people with Yirah Shemayim, to hear Rav Scheinberg daven. So he was lishma. He took Torah very, very, very seriously. I, unfortunately, still trying to bol lishma, mitech shelo lishma, bol lishma. But a person who's learning because he wants to go to Daf Yomi, he wants to feel a connection to the Torah. That's a mitech shelo lishma, bol lishma. And that's what we all have to do, is that we have to continue learning because mitech shelo lishma, bol lishma. And this is a very important process in all of our lives. I haven't had a chance properly to learn the Hilchos of Mishnah Brura, how the Kaviyas Itim L'Torah, but all of us, I know we're working, I know it's very hard to make a living and to find time, but we have to be Kaveya Itim L'Torah, because Torah, Kihem Chayenu, it gives us chiyus. It gives learning Torah gives a person chiyus. This is it's a lifeline. Even though, like I said, that the Torah is the life of the universe, it's also our life because it gives a yid a life. And I'll end off with a Maisa that Shalom Shadran related. Shalom Shadran, many, many years ago. Shalom Shadran. So he said, he in Denver, Colorado, there was a Ger Tzedek. He was a wonderful person, and he was also a renowned Talmid Chacham. He's from Denver? No. You're from Denver? Okay.
You're a Cohen.
So they have Kohanim in Denver.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right? He was a wonderful person. He was a renowned Talmid Chacham. So he met this fellow, this Ger Tzedek's Chavrusa, who told him over this story of how he became a Ger Tzedek. This fellow was a Chavrusa with this Ger Tzedek. He had been a Chavrusa in Denver. Now he was in Muncie, and he heard the story. So he heard, this fellow had firsthand of the remarkable history. Before his conversion, he was in the United States Army during World War II. He was in the United States Army in World War. You weren't in World War II. My uncle was in World War II. Allah Shalom. You know, he just passed away at 102. My uncle, he was in World War II. Right? So anyway, this fellow was in World War II, and he was severely wounded by shrapnel, and he had brain damage. And because of his injury, he was discharged as an invalid, and he was given a monthly disability allowance. Every few months, he had to be checked by a doctor to determine his condition, whether he's still entitled to this disability payment. Everybody, when they're not busy, all of a sudden they start looking for meaning in life. This is universal. We'll have to talk about Viktor Frankl. This is the basic moda operandi of the psyche of a person, is I have to have meaning in life. That's why there's so many people with causes. They're looking for a cause because they're hunting for a meaning in life, so the cause becomes their meaning in life. So he was looking for meaning in life. So he started investigating different religions, tried this religion, that religion, all the different religions, and he came across Judaism. You know, it's in the list. And he liked it. It rang a bell with him. So he decided to convert. So he went through the whole process of you have to learn and go to the rabbi and take classes, and he converted. And then once he converted, but he felt, I don't know anything. I don't know enough about this religion. So he decided he was going to go to yeshiva and learn more about the religion. And he got into the yeshiva, and Baruch Hashem, it clicked. And he got into it, and it didn't take long, and it became a shtickle Talmid Chacham, right? He was learning, and he was mamish enjoying life. As he's learning, and as he's enjoying himself, he noticed that his condition was clearing up. The fog was lifting from his head from the brain injury, and he was able to move, and his whole physical condition was clearing up. He was recovered. He had to go for a medical exam, at the military, and the doctor says, "You're healthy. Go to work. You're not entitled to the disability pension." No. Says, if I go to work, I can't learn. I'm not giving up learning. I'm staying in yeshiva. He protested, and he made an appeal. He appealed it. He went to a second doctor. Same answer. You're perfectly healthy. Go to work. He appealed again. He went through the system. I don't know what kind of court system they have, but he finally got to a military tribunal, and there was a big general who was in charge of this military tribunal, and the general says, "Look, you've been through all these doctors, all the physicians have checked you out. Everybody says you're perfectly healthy, and you still insist that you're entitled to a disability allowance. It's unwarranted. It doesn't make sense. You're just trying to squeeze money out of the United States government." Says, No. I'm not working, and I need financial support. What do you mean you're not working? So what do? I study in yeshiva. Go tell that to a goyish general. I'm studying in yeshiva, and what do you learn in yeshiva? I learn Torah. And what's Torah? I want to be a Talmid Chacham. And surprise of surprises, the general's ears perked up and his eyes perked up. Oh, you want to be a Talmid Chacham? Come into my office. I want to have a little chat with you. So he went into the office and the general said, I want to tell you something. I was in charge of a submarine in World War II. And there was a certain time period that we were in enemy waters and we couldn't surface for a very, very long time. And all the sailors were going out of the mines. You know, you're caged into this, you know, these little quarters, cramped quarters, can't do anything. And there's no, you can't go up for a breath of air, can't get some sunlight. And they were going out of the mine. And I was racking my brains how to keep them occupied, that they were getting depressed. And I noticed that there were 3 Jewish sailors there. And they were never depressed. They're walking around quite happy. I couldn't figure it out. Why aren't they like the other ones? One day I'm walking past their dormitory room, and I hear them singing. Not only are they happy, but they're singing in the submarine when everybody's depressed. What's happening? He opened the door, you know, and everybody stands up. The admiral walks in, and says, yeah, "What are you doing here?" "We're learning." "What are you learning?" "We're learning Torah." Why are you learning Torah?" "Because we want to be a Talmid Chacham." If you want to be a Talmid Chacham, and being a Talmid Chacham makes a person so happy, I grant you a lifetime pension. Sit and learn Torah, because that's what makes a person happy.